Have you heard of the issue of climate change in the Sahel Desert?
No. No? But I imagine it would. Is that
Which desert?
the Sahel?
I've never even heard of that desert.
It's the...
It's probably not.
I know that this year has been one of the hottest years on record.
The Sahel is a region of north-central Africa, south of the Sahara Desert. 19 million people of the Sahel are confronted on a daily basis by the devastating impacts of climate change. 80% depend on agriculture as a means to live and feed their families. The increasing temperature throughout history, combined with drought, has led these people to be uncertain of their future. The chain reaction climate shift has and will have on this region and its inhabitants include desertification, which is the process by which fertile land becomes desert, poverty, famine and malnutrition, emigration, and death. The climate of the Sahel is predicted to become drier in the 21st century than it has been in the past. The rest of the world is also expected to have a dramatic climate increase in the 21st century. Therefore, our concern should not only be for those imminently affected by the shifting climate, but also for mankind's future on a global scale.
In the last century, global mean temperatures increased by 0.6 degrees Celsius. The hottest years ever were tied between 2010 and 2005, according to The God Species by Mark Linus. A higher concentration of greenhouse gases has led to this atmospheric warming, resulting in floods, droughts, and cyclones. A climate sensitivity analysis of agriculture found that 3 African countries will potentially lose their entire rain-fed agriculture by 2100. 2 of them are Sahelian countries, Chad and Niger. General circulation model simulations suggest future warming increases between 0.2 degrees Celsius and 0.5 degrees Celsius per decade in the African region. Their greatest warming levels are predicted to be inside the Sahel and central southern Africa.
Even desert-adapted series, which should be able to cope with ordinary dry weather, they end up showing signs of widespread drought, which means plant mortality. And agriculture, as an environmental perspective, serves as something that sustains people. It keeps people in place. And in the Sahel, it was saying that year by year, the fertile areas were drying up and becoming sand.
So you have people moving both north and south. You have pastoralists becoming more sedentary. You have agricultural communities looking for increased farmland because their yields are decreasing with fewer rains. So I think conflict will be one driver, but I think that just food yield shortages will be another.
These environmental changes are also having intense impacts on the agricultural and pastoral people living in the region. They are losing their ability to feed themselves as their lakes dry up, droughts happen more frequently, and there is severe heat. Currently in Mali, for example, over 1 million children face acute malnutrition. This is also pushing people further south in search of farmable land or grazing area for their cattle, and this is leading to an increase in conflict as they are encroaching on other people's territories.
An foyong irga kanda heri chin tachi chin hinza irgo kaninda ay zan kesi bego huno mo soko ay da har siga kan labu goy sino ifote ba huna sake bande.
On an international scale, climate change policy is a recent innovation. Most of the policy involving climate change has only become important since the early 1990s. Under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, many nations have begun adapting to greenhouse gas emissions regulations. In 2001, this convention also established the Least Developed Countries Fund. This fund, which receives voluntary donations by developed countries, aids developing nations in the process of adapting to climate change. Their main mechanism is forming national adaptation plans of action. Each of the Sahel nations are funded by this organization in some way.